The mysterious jungle of Eldoria and the lost tribes. Ilara, a cartographer whose maps were as intricate as spiderwebs woven with dew, had always scoffed at tales of the uncharted. Her compass had guided her through whispering deserts and over jagged peaks, but the whispers of Eldoria were different. Legends spoke of a jungle that pulsed with an ancient magic, a place where time itself bent, and where forgotten tribes guarded secrets older than the stars. Dismissing them as mere folklore, Ilara had set out with a small, skeptical team, determined to etch Eldoria's true form onto parchment. Their journey began innocuously enough, at the verdant fringes where familiar flora still dared to grow. But as they delved deeper, the air grew thick and heavy, laden with the scent of damp earth and an ozone-like tang. Trees, impossibly tall and crowned with bioluminescent fungi, formed a canopy so dense that only slivers of sunlight pierced through, painting the forest floor in shifting patterns of emerald and gold. The sounds were equally alien, rhythmic thrums that seemed to emanate from the very ground, the chittering of unseen creatures that sounded like wind chimes, and, occasionally, a haunting, melodic call that sent shivers down their spines. Days blurred into weeks, their modern instruments, so reliable elsewhere, faltered. Compasses spun erratically, GPS devices displayed gibberish, and their communication radios crackled with static before falling silent. "It's the mineral deposits," Ilara would insist, tapping her useless compass. But a gnawing doubt began to settle in her heart. The jungle seemed to possess a will of its own, subtly altering paths, moving trees, and even shifting the banks of the few rivers they encountered. Then came the disappearances. First, Finn, their boisterous tracker, vanished while scouting ahead, leaving only a faint footprint beside a patch of strangely vibrant, pulsating moss. A week later, Lena, the quiet botanist, was gone from their camp in the dead of night. Her journal left open to a sketch of a flower no one had ever seen, its petals swirling like miniature galaxies. Panic began to set in, stripping away Ilara's scientific detachment. One evening, huddled beneath a colossal glowing tree, they found it. An ancient moss-covered stone archway, adorned with carvings of stylized human figures and strange geometric patterns. It pulsed with a faint internal light, mirroring the bioluminescent flora around it. Hesitantly, Ilara touched the cold stone, and a ripple of energy vibrated through her hand. It was clear this was no natural formation. This was a gateway. Against the protests of her remaining two team members, Ilara stepped through. The world on the other side was subtly different. The air felt lighter, the colors more vivid, and the sounds sharper. A faint path, almost swallowed by the encroaching jungle, wound its way deeper. They followed it, their apprehension overshadowed by an insatiable curiosity. After hours of trekking, they emerged into a vast, hidden clearing. Before them stood not ruins, but a thriving village built into the colossal trees themselves. Structures of woven vines and polished wood spiraled upwards, connected by swinging bridges. Figures moved among them, their skin adorned with intricate tattoos, their clothes woven from iridescent fibers, and their faces bearing an ancient wisdom. These were the lost tribes of Eldoria. As they cautiously approached, a figure emerged from a central, impossibly grand tree dwelling. She was an elder, her face lined with age, but her eyes sharp and intelligent. Her staff, tipped with a crystalline shard that shimmered with inner light, was raised not in aggression, but in a gesture of welcome. "You are the Seekers," her voice resonated, not in their language, but directly in their minds, a telepathic murmur that carried both authority and grace. Ilara, stunned, managed to introduce herself and explain her mission. The elder, whose name was Lyra, listened patiently. She then revealed the truth of Eldoria. The jungle was not merely a forest, it was a living entity, infused with the planet's core energy, a sanctuary protected by the tribes for millennia. The disappearances were not abductions, but a gentle redirection. Finn and Lena, she explained, had been led to other hidden enclaves within Eldoria, places where their specific skills, tracking and botany, could be nurtured for the jungle's benefit, should they choose to stay. They were safe and had already begun to embrace the rhythm of the jungle. The Eldorians, it turned out, were the descendants of ancient people who had sought refuge in the jungle during a time of global catastrophe. They had learned to live in harmony with Eldoria, to understand its language of light and sound, and to harness its unique energy for healing, sustenance, and silent communication. They were not primitive. They possessed a profound understanding of life, far beyond the technological advancements of Ilara's world. Ilara and her remaining team members were invited to stay, to learn, and to see Eldoria not as a place to be mapped, but as a teacher. They witnessed the tribes communicating with the glowing flora, coaxing food from the earth with mere thought, and moving through the dense foliage with a grace that defied gravity. They saw Finn, vibrant and content, guiding new shoots of a strange energy-rich vine, and Lena, her eyes alight with discovery, documenting Eldoria's unique botanical wonders. The initial days were a struggle. Ilara, accustomed to logic and precision, found herself needing to trust intuition, to listen to the silent hum of the jungle. But slowly, the rigid lines of her scientific mind began to soften. She learned to identify the subtle shifts in the jungle's mood, to understand the purpose of the rhythmic thrums, and even to glimpse flashes of the telepathic communication that flowed effortlessly among the Eldorians. She never completed her map of Eldoria. Instead, she began a new kind of cartography, mapping the internal landscape of understanding, charting the intricate connections between life and energy. The jungle had not yielded its secrets to her instruments, but it had opened its heart to her spirit. When the time came for her to choose, to return to her world with tales that would surely be dismissed as madness, or to stay and truly become a part of Eldoria, Ilara looked at the glowing canopy above, at the serene faces of the Eldorians, and at the newfound peace within herself. She had sought to define the unknown, but Eldoria had redefined her. She was no longer just a cartographer. She was a student of the profound, a guardian of the whispers, and a silent witness to the ancient magic that thrived within the heart of the mysterious jungle. And in that choice, she finally found her true bearing.